It has officially happened. Bitcoin has seen the price action pivot switch from a nice short-term support region at 106,500 to now a bearish pivot here, suggesting a downside bias as long as Bitcoin is below the last Tuesday's high of about 110,750 bucks. So as long as Bitcoin is below there, yes, Bitcoin can have a short-term bounce, but overall, the daily time frame is switching into a bit of a downtrend. You got a high, you got a low, you got a lower high, and a lower low right here. So yes, short-term, a correction is very likely underway. This, of course, is going to be in combination with everyone's most favorite, most prized signal, which of course is, wait, hey, what the fuck? Where did it go? Oh, I put it on the wrong chart. My apologies. Yes, it's the witches chart, the moons right here. We did see that the bear moon fired off actually on that same Tuesday high. Weird that it kind of comes in at the same next price action pivot. But ultimately, again, we do expect kind of a corrective phase from this more likely than not whenever we've seen this this particular signal in the past. This one actually preceded the past signal over here, which was a corrective phase sideways. Didn't really see any major downside. This one over here, certainly a lot of downside. This one over here making new lows on the day and then new lows to follow after that. This one over here effectively marking off the last high. But again, it's not a 100% signal, but it is fun to talk about on YouTube because it's extremely controversial and people really take offense to it. However, I want to now get into the higher term timeframes for Bitcoin because we do have the weekly and the bi-weekly and the monthly timeframe closing for CME today, and then spot price action will follow through on tomorrow night's closure. So first things first, let's go over the monthly as it stands for CME. The monthly for CME is thus far, assuming that Bitcoin closes anywhere below that 38.2 level at almost 109,000 US dollars. That will be considered, again, a failure to break out. So, does Bitcoin still operate between that region and then the median coming into the next month? Probably yes. The median, I definitely expect to move up significantly into June as well. But that would be, if Bitcoin gets there, a very nice bounce region and probably a good corrective target, maybe even marking off the extent of whatever correction we're probably looking at in the short term here. Weekly time frame, same thing essentially. We do see that Bitcoin has more or less rejected the 618 level for the last couple of weeks. And we do see that this is actually synonymous or very similar to what we're seeing over here on the 5-day time frame for spot price action, which is actually closing tonight. So 5-day and actually 10-day for spot will close alongside CME's weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly as well. And as it stands right here, again, this is looking like Bitcoin really wants to reconnect with that median, which as of right now is just below 100,000 bucks. I do expect that one to move up as well. So we'll see where that one comes in once we get this new open. But as it stands right now, the 10-day time frame also looking like a nice rejection, essentially not closing above the prior all-time high, which I do think is significant. I do know and understand that price action traders are going to look at this actually as a bearish signal, similar to actually how the 2021 cycle ended. I'm not necessarily of that opinion. Yeah, sometimes certainly the price action people do get things right for sure. But I'm biased more towards a correction here first, and then another continuation of this move. I don't know, later this summer, whenever it happens, is fine. Fine by me. Anyways, let's now go over stochastic momentum because, again, we are going to be getting a lot of updates on CME coming after today. Daily time frame is continuing to the downside here after spending one of the longest times, the second longest time in the critical zone that we've seen in the past 10 years. This one continues down as long as Bitcoin's below 110,650. So looking likely for today, but again, it's a long day left to go, so a lot can happen. 2-day time frame is also turning down simultaneously below 111,000 US dollars. 3-day time frame is also turning down below 108,000 bucks, and the 5-day time frame, which I believe is actually not closing today, this one's going to be closing next week, will be pivoted at 94, so probably not turning down on the next one, but the one after that perhaps could be of interest because the weekly is already in the same region, and I suspect that Bitcoin is very unlikely to close below 93,600 today on CME, but again, that number will shift down coming into next week, so you're going to see very likely all of these higher term timeframes switch to a more downside posturing, which does open up the potential for this correction to drag on further south. Anyways, as far as spot price action goes, we're going to see these closures tonight, and the 5-day time frame actually really does have a chance to close to the downside tonight. I should note that this is the exact same area where the last 1, 2, and 3 mega moves that we've seen throughout this cycle have also turned down as well. And assuming that Bitcoin does close below 105 or basically 106,000 US dollars, which it's just a ball sack hair below right now, we will see this one cross to the downside. So you have daily, 2-day, 3-day, 5-day all on the same side. Usually usually like to bet on the same side, when these things all align, especially from about the same direction with the 2, 3, and 5 are certainly in. The 10-day will very likely, almost guaranteed to continue up here. But again, you're kind of just chewing up time. And looking at the price action pivot here, you can see that the price action pivot is actually switching, representing the price action traders from a bullish pivot over here to potentially a bearish pivot over here, at least a ranging pivot. So this would be your high pivot, this would be your low pivot, which I do think is rather interesting because, again, that does offer up the potential for a much deeper correction here. Again, a reconnect with the monthly 5 EMA coming into early June could easily come. I imagine that's probably going to be around like 96 to 98,000 bucks. Again, we won't actually know until we get the new open, but I would kind of guesstimate it's going to be somewhere around there. Again, on the topic of this being a good area for a bit of a correction, I want to bring back the fib time zone chart. Again, this is just drawing a fib time zone from the high of last cycle to the low of last cycle, and we can see that this is lined up pretty decently, not exactly perfectly, which it doesn't need to be perfect, but pretty decently with major highs and in one case a major low for this current cycle. You can see over here, again, it's not going to be 100% perfect, but it gets around about the time. So you can see this high right here, this high right here, this high right here, this low right here, one of the only lows, by the way. This high right here actually was perfect, to be fair. This one over here, again, got the high, but it was one bar after. Yes, Bitcoin did trade back around that high again soon after that, but effectively, this was a turning point for a deeper correction. And then we got the same thing going on over here as well. Yes, Bitcoin has traded a little bit higher than that, but in terms of the fib time zone, it does say that it's a little bit better of a time to be more on the conservative side, I would say. So yeah, Bitcoin probably into a corrective period into the early portion of June. We actually went over this in yesterday's video regarding June statistics, that June typically sees the low of the month, actually not as early in the month as we see in most other months. June actually sees it typically between the end of the first week and the end of the second week of June. So I would say that right now is not necessarily the time to be like super aggressive because, well, you're probably going to get better opportunities just with a little bit of patience here. On top of all of this, I do want to acknowledge as well that there is something that is certainly baking here, which I do think is of significance. And that is the potential, not confirmation, but certainly potential of bearish divergence on a 5-day time frame. This will actually confirm on tonight's 5-day closure if Bitcoin closes basically anywhere below 106,000 bucks. Now, again, it's not a death signal like immediately, but it does suggest that, hey, or it does, provide further confluence that, hey, we're likely looking at, a decent pullback to open up June. And, right now is not the time to be super aggressive if you're bullish, especially, in this sort of fashion over here where you do take like fucking humongous trades, like $1 billion in dollar size. Just fucking insane. Anyways, yes, I think that we have spoken about pretty much everything that we want to speak about here. Just want to go through my things yet again. Yeah, 5-day setup, by the way, is probably going to end relatively soon. If you're looking for this one to play out, because I get the questions about this all the time, people love this this very, very high term time frame setup. It's within the Quant Prime service. You can set up. You can even automate it as well. There's a link in the description below. And yes, it is free to try for 7 days, as are all of our major offerings, like the price action pivots, like the quantum wave bands, like, of course, the Quant Prime, and then also the and then of course caretakers like full indicator suite. All of these things come with a 7-day free trial, so you can just try it out, risk free, and see if it's for you. But yeah, this one, I don't think it's going to actually close below today, but probably on the next one it'll officially close. This one has taken about 50 bars, which is what 50 days, which is what we expect. This would be day number 45, to be fair. And as far as returns, we have seen a move from that open to current high at about 34%, which is within the context of those stats that you can see down here, but I won't go through in any great detail in today's video because, well, it's already long enough, I suspect. And then, yeah, one last thing just pertaining to tomorrow night's monthly closure. It does look like the monthly HPDR median is going to act as a rejection. So I do want to see where that one opens up on Sunday. That could easily make me like mega bullish, or I wouldn't say mega bearish, but again, looking for a deeper pullback. So we'll update what that as it comes around. But other than that, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this video. I would humbly request that if you do find this content valuable or in any way meaningful, consider liking and subscribing. It's all good. You can always unsubscribe later and also unlike as well later too. So with all of that said, I'd like to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.